Hey folks, it's time to review the 1 to 4 player game Tiny Epic Pirates. That's all coming up right after this. Hey YouTube, this is Peck Tech, and it's been a little while since I've made a video on this channel, but I have been getting a steady flow of Kickstarters in, and I'd like to talk about them. I've really had a chance to play a couple of them in particular, and I thought it would be cool to share them with you. So what we're talking about today, of course, is Tiny Epic Pirates. It's 1 to 4 player game. It's from Gambling Games, if you don't know. It says that the time to play this is 30 to 60 minutes, which I find to be pretty much true, depending on how many players you have. And of course, it's ages 14 and up, probably because of piracy. This is by no means the first of the Tiny Epic games that I've backed on Kickstarter, especially for Tiny Epic whatever. I have found recently I've desired their games less and less as time goes on. I think the real thing for me is the artwork. A lot of it seems really childish. That's a big part of why I skipped dinosaurs. I thought the theme was kind of neat, but the artwork looked like it was made for a little child's game, and you know, I'm a man-child, not a baby child. Part of the appeal of the Tiny Epic games is that they're very, very portable. You can fit a whole game minus some other accessories into a box and take it with you. It's also the downside is that the compromises that they make so that it fits in a tiny little box like this can sometimes make it less desirable, especially when the rule set is very similar to maybe a larger size box game. But it does give you a little thicker, richer experience in most cases. Now, they have a lot of different versions of Tiny Epic. And I think prior to this one, my favorite one was Tiny Epic Galaxies. I've also been known to really enjoy ultra tiny Epic Galaxies, which comes with basically a card deck size thing, and I've played that several times with my buddies at lunch. The other thing that they're kind of known for is their meeples, not so much in this game or even the Tiny Epic Galaxies game, but they have other games that have item meeples where you can actually stick little swords and bows and stuff into the meeples, which is kind of neat. The last game that I backed from them was Tiny Epic Mechs. I was really disappointed with Tiny Epic Mechs. I thought it was okay. I thought it was neat that you could put the meeples inside of mechs and stuff, but it was so fiddly to kind of and really stop the game just to kind of insert your meeple into these things and put them down on the ground and stuff, and or even changing around their weapons and stuff like that. And the combat was really lackluster too. So much so that I didn't even bother making a video about it. Now, I love anything with a pirate theme. I'm a huge pirate fanboy, so this was kind of an easy sell for me and probably a lot of other people. Also like nautical stuff, it turns out. Like, it's a genre I didn't really realize I was so interested in, but I really love nautical themes also. So I got this game about 2 weeks ago, and I've been playing it. I played one player several times. I played it solo quite a bit, actually. It's kind of fun solo, especially if it's already out and you just want to go again real quick. It's a great solo game. I've also played it with 2 player, with just me and my wife, 3 player, me and my wife and my child, and once 4 player with over Easter. I really loved it as a solo game. As a dueling game, it's pretty fun too. Starts to get more confrontational as you get to a 3 player game, and can, if you choose it to be very confrontational at a 4 player game, which seemed to really drag out. That's where the time thing kind of goes out the window, and you're looking at more like an hour and a half, 2 hours for a game with 4 players. Sometimes it's hard to judge. I was teaching the game to at least one of the players there, so maybe seasoned players could probably trim that time down quite a bit. It's worth noting too that the components I'm showing are the deluxe components. The deluxe version of this game comes with some mini expansions, which are pretty neat. I've only played once with those, and I can't really speak to them. They add something to the game, just another layer of complexity. The game in itself, I think it was just me, but I had a little trouble teaching it to other people. I'm still kind of perfecting that. There's a great watch it played for this. There's actually a couple of different instructional videos for this that make it pretty simple to learn on your own if you don't like reading the rule book necessarily. And truth be told, the rules aren't super complicated. If you're not a person that plays a lot of games, it might be a little bit harder to grab onto than someone who typically plays a lot of different types of games. So on your turn in Tiny Epic Pirates, you're going to go around your dial, and the little wedges in here are randomly selected. So at the beginning of the game, you put those wedges in there, and you're going to go around the dial, and your captain's going to choose an action that they're going to perform. You can skip over actions by taking your crewmen from down below and appointing them to different tasks. Of course, as you do that, it sort of debuffs some of the things that are going on here, or takes them away from the repair section, which is just fine. And if you manage to go all the way around the wheel and you pass them up again, then you get to replace them back into their spots. The goal of the game is to bury 3 of your treasure chests. You can only bury things when you choose a certain action. The search action actually is where it starts, but there are other options for that later on. And on a tile which includes an amount of gold and a little treasure chest to let you know that you can bury it there. The iconography on this is really clear. The actions match the things that you see on the board, and I think it's actually pretty easy to pick up. The combat in this works really well. Basically, you're rolling a dice. Your captain's going to have some little dice printed at the top that lets you know which ones hit. Every dice that you get that matches those numbers hits. And as you go along, you're going to add crew members. So as you add these crew members, they're going to have dice at the top also, and special actions also. And this kind of enriches your abilities throughout the game, either to get more chances to hit on dice or more hits on a particular number that you roll. So every time you choose something along your wheel, if that particular action corresponds to something at the bottom of one of these crew cards, either your captain's card or your crew card, like this is the search right here. If your action corresponds with that, you get to also do these things. How you choose those things and how they end up applying to your strategy is really interesting, and I think it adds a really interesting layer to this. I love any game where you systematically improve yourself as the game goes on. So you're buffing up in different ways, and adding the crew, picking the different types of crew and adding them really feels like you've got a unique game every time you play it. It should be noted too that these captains are two-sided. They're all sort of male, female opposites on either side, and partway through the game or any point during the game you can just flip your card over, have a mutiny, and be the other captain. Not to rag on the artwork too much, but it seems like all the male captains are kind of the stereotypical gruff man pirate, and all the female captains and crew are like pretty good looking. I don't mind that they're good looking. I think that that's great, but it's funny that the men are like some are handsome and some are kind of rugged and stuff, but the ladies are all hot. There are no unhot pirate ladies apparently in this game. Some other optional buys and stuff include dice. Like this is the normal dice, which are pretty nice looking little dice. But they also have skull dice, which are kind of a funny shape, and actually do make a skull on the two-sided part. This game also has an expansion where you can basically play as a ghost ship or have a ghost ship to combat against. I haven't played that expansion yet, or really messed with it. I'll probably break it out soon, but I wanted to just kind of keep it to the core game. One thing I thought was neat is that the marker for your gold is an actual metal coin, which is pretty nice. A nice little metal coin to mark how much gold you've got. Another optional buy for these are neoprene placemats, which I really love these. I could probably live without the neoprene mat. They have 2 different kinds. They have one that's like to hold the game, but I find the cards are kind of slick on here, and so it doesn't offer a huge advantage. These little places marked out to where your cards are kind of nice too. They've got little areas and places to put everything, but I could probably live without this mat. I really love the personal play mats though. They just kind of make that a little bit nicer. If you don't use these, you're going to get your typical Tiny Epic little cards. I don't know what these are, maybe 3x5 cards. As you might expect, they'll have 2 of these, you know, one for this side and one for that side with just some stuff to put, you know, little arrows to put how many crew and stuff you have at the bottom. Whereas the playmats have these little wedges cut out so that when you randomly select your actions, they fit seamlessly right here in these little wedges, and it's really nice. I love that. I'm not sure why I'm so excited about that, but I do like it a lot. Probably one of the neater components that this game has are the ships. They've got these tiny plastic ships. They hold 3 of these cubes. They have cubes to kind of indicate different types of booty or a resource that you can have. You got a couple of different colors of that, and then they got the Navy ship that sort of chases you around the board. I'm not going to get too in depth on the how to play, and I'm not going to explain all the rules or anything like that. There's so many videos like that, especially right now, that has come out on how to do that. I have considered doing maybe a solo playthrough. Maybe once I get once I figure out how to do the expansion and really make it interesting and not such just the basic game. I have to say that Tiny Epic Pirates is my new favorite Tiny Epic game. It's a great mix of strategy. It mitigates luck quite a bit by letting you kind of, I don't know, make your own luck, I guess, by choosing the crew members that can either spread your ability to hit across a bunch of dice or really narrow it down to just a few dice that do really well. That adds sort of a pressure luck element to this. I love the ability to make the crew, as I said before. There's a wide variety of captains with like just maybe slightly different abilities here and there, but enough to keep it interesting. As you go along, you're able to sell stuff in the market, and the market, as you sell things, they become less valuable, and then other things move up. That whole rotating market is really interesting and adds a lot of kind of some kind of gentle cutthroatness to the competitive aspects of this game. This game also has some little tiny merchant ships that you can attack. And what's interesting about that is you can pick on this NPC merchant ship and then eventually level up, especially if you're playing 2-player, without attacking your co-player. And if player 1, especially when it's a 2-player game, you can beat up on the merchant ships instead of maybe shooting the person that you're playing 2-player with, and it feels a little less confrontational, if that's the way you want to go. Of course, if you really want to level up your character, every time you attack and win another player, your level goes up, you get faster, you eventually get more dice, and you almost always get gold or some other benefit from doing that, and it's really tempting. So I think that that's a fun way to play too, but you don't have to, and that's what's great. You can play play to your style, so you don't have. It's still fun. Beating up on the merchant ships and just going around and trying to bury your gold. You don't get a huge advantage except for maybe leveling up, going after other people. So there are a lot of unlikely scenarios too where you might just lose, out and out just lose to that other person even though you thought you were more powerful. As you go along and search, you find different things that kind of help you out in the game. Some of them you store for later. Some of them have an immediate benefit, but all of them make it really interesting, and they're another way that kind of mixes this game up. These little tiles, too, will be randomly selected before each game, so you're going to be moving those around every game, so you won't always have a treasure chest there and a hideout there and a plunder token there or whatever. So they're always going to move around. This game was still fun at 4 players. It was substantially longer. 3 players didn't feel like a huge impact. But it sort of did start to drag out at 4 people. But I'm anxious to kind of try that again with some people that have already learned the rules, or maybe somebody have already taught the rules, and see if that moves a little faster. But that's it for this quick review. Tiny Epic Pirates, for the price, is a fantastic little game. It's a great little pocket game, easily one of the better ones of their games. Neat components without being too fiddly, nice and competitive, interesting as a strategy element, the type of thing where you can kind of build your character up based on their different crew members and stuff like that. And then you got to make strategic decisions about how you get your gold and get it into the ground. That's all I got today. Thank you for joining me for this review of Tiny Epic Pirates. I'll be back soon with more. Enjoy your games.